Redditors who cook. What's the biggest no-no thing in cooking? Cooking everything on high because you want it done faster. Do you know my mother? Everyone knows your mother. A dull knife. My parents had no idea all of their knives have been dull for the past decade until I sharpened them and they were like, wow, it's like a brand new knife. Don't let your baking powder get clumpy. Tiny rocks of baking powder ruin anything you bake. Have done it. Biting into clumps of baking powder sends shivers down my spine. Cranking the heat to reduce the cooking time will leave you with a burnt outside and an underdone inside. Do not mix hot cooking oil and cool sink water. I saw a girl burn the hell out of herself because she didn't listen to the home ec teacher. She threw her hot oil in a sink with some cool water running. Boom. Sprayed hot oil all over her arm and neck. Let your oil cool, folks. Never, and I mean never, panic if you start a fire on accident. You need to be calm enough to know if you have to smother it, oil or grease fires, or grab the extinguisher. Panicking can get your house burned down. Standing in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Get the FCK out. Don't get in my way. Learned this the hard way. Don't throw fresh chili peppers into a hot pan unless you want to pepper spray the whole house. Always wear pants while cooking bacon. Or just an apron. Cooking with extra virgin olive oil over high heat. You sound bitter about this. Coming anywhere near my non-stick pan with metal. If you scratch my pan, I will scratch your soul. Not seasoning your chicken. Overcooking chicken too. Straight to jail. For the love of God, stop mucking about with whatever it is you're cooking. Unless it's something you specifically need to be mixing or stirring constantly. Leave it alone. You'll never get proper color on things if they make more contact with your spatula than your pan. Taste as you go. My raw chicken never tastes very good, but I'm sure I'll find a good bird one day. Guessing at amounts when baking. Baking is science. Cooking is art. Don't rinse your pasta. Making a cake then eating the whole thing right after. Having ketchup as a pasta sauce. Instead of making one. Which is super easy and million times tastier. Never pour spices directly into a steaming pot on the stove. The spices will congeal in their containers from the moisture introduced. Instead, put the spices in a separate side container, then add to a steaming pot. Don't burn the ramen plastic accidentally when cooking. Cooking with unwashed hands. Feeling like it's too hard or being afraid to experiment with stuff. Obviously don't try something totally new when you're cooking for guests, but don't feel like failing means you suck. If you mess up, learn from it and move on. It's not the end of the world. Never put oil in the pot when cooking pasta, as the sauce will just slip and slide away instead of sticking to the pasta. Do not mix citric fruits with milk. My lazy ass learned the hard way to never use a pot holder that got wet to get a hot pan out of the oven. Basically renders the pot holder useless. Ended up burning my hand and dropping my food. Also, when baking bread, don't add cold water to a hot Pyrex that has been in there for a minute to make steam. I knew what was going to happen, but I did it anyway. Boom. Glass shards everywhere. Not seasoning anything. There is a reason pretty much every recipe including candy and ice cream includes salt, you morons. Still, don't overdo it either. Plenty of stuff is preloaded with heaps of salt. Cooking everything on the stove on high. I noticed people who don't really know how to cook always do this. Burning things on a pan isn't cooking. Mixing bleach and ammonia when cleaning the kitchen after hours. Someone picking at the part of the meal you just put out while you're still cooking. Not washing your hands after touching certain things, like eggs. If your oil is on fire, don't use water to extinguish it. Actually, even if it isn't on fire, don't put water in hot oil. The second most dangerous thing in the kitchen is a dull knife. The most dangerous thing in the kitchen is me with a sharpened knife if you insist on standing in my way at every twist and turn. If you ain't cooking, get out of the kitchen. Remember, you can't get some stuff back after you add it. Go slow with seasonings. And lightly. You can always add more. But you can't take it back. Don't let your food taste like ocean water. Keep an eye on your food. Never leave the kitchen. You never know what is going to happen. Also from personal experience, make sure you turn off all the burners when you're done. I got done eating and realized I left the pan with oil on a burner still. Luckily it was on low heat. I spent a half hour scrubbing the burnt oil off the pan. Never do your prep work as you go. Do all the prep work up front and your cooking experience will be so much better. Don't press your burgers down as they're cooking. You're releasing all the juice. It'll give you a dry ass burger. There are such things as smash burgers. But I believe on those. You smash them at the beginning before the fat has a chance to melt so you're not smashing the juice out. Chicken sushi. Things that make food taste good. Salt, fat, butter, spices, garlic, chilies. I can't tell you how often I eat food someone else has made and it's like they've never heard of salt and they think margarine is fine. Also, if you ask yourself why does taste great when they make it, but not when I do? Reference the above. Pouring water to try to cool down the oil and make it smoke less. It'll only make it worse. Water is the last thing you pour on a hot pan with oil on it. Adding salt as a matter of course. Or just because the recipe says to. Taste first. And only add if needed. If you've used stock or a stock cube in your dish you might not even need salt. They already have it. Cut the habaneros then going to pee. Wash those hands first son. Don't put the ramen cup without water in a microwave. Big no no. Don't even touch my goddamn cast irons. I spent hours treating rust and yelling because my roommates FK'd 4 of them up. Skipping fresh ingredients. Just peel and chop garlic. Squeeze a lemon. Skip the jar bottle. Multiple chefs. I hate walking around people in the kitchen and sharing knives throws me off. Not using enough butter. Hell yeah. Growing up we used nothing but margarine. As I began to cook, I replaced it with butter and the flavor cannot be matched by any substitute. Do not start cooking unless all, or almost all, ingredients are prepped. You cannot start chopping onions while your meat is frying dry in the pan. Putting oil in your pasta water. Fight me. Blunt knives. I am by no means a pro chef. But I hate cooking at other people's places because they never have sharp knives. If I know I'm going to cook at someone's place I bring my own. Microwaves. I'm not 100% against them but easily 90% of food can be reheated in the oven. In my experience. 10 minutes at 350 does wonders to bring the life back to food. Toaster ovens are f***ing awesome as well. Never let water touch chocolate. This doesn't pertain to the cooking itself really but keep your knife sharp. It's one of your most important tools in the kitchen. I cringe when I see people at work or in Reddit posts scraping ingredients off the cutting board with the blade side of their knife. People coming into the kitchen to help. Substitute ingredients in a recipe. I'm not talking about using garlic powder because you don't have fresh garlic. Fresh still better but not my point. I mean the completely crazy, wacky shitty people will change out. It's nuts to see reviews of recipes online saying awful. This looked bad and tasted worse. Also I was out of flour so I used orange tang instead. WTF people. Not washing your hands. Not having a good knife. Don't put soap on cast iron when you wash it. Hot ass water and a sponge is all you need. And you can use coarse salt to help scrub if it's real stuck. Doubling the heat won't make it cook twice as fast. Don't ever leave cooking food unattended. Not letting your meat rest. Pre-ground pepper grinds my gears. Get a grinder and a 4 pepper blend from McCormick's.